Hi, welcome to Off Script. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Today on the show, we're talking about the tragedy of Macbeth. The new Apple Plus film is in theaters right now. It's black and white, it's 4:3, it's Shakespeare, and it is bold cinema. We're excited to talk about it. We're also going to talk about Disney's Encanto. It is now on Disney Plus streaming for those of you who are subscribers, so it's almost free. We're going to talk about the end of the show. Normally we talk about like the family-friendly kids movie before the weird black and white bold cinema movie, but this is the home of bold cinema, all right? And it's what we do. So if you want to hear that, just, listen through or skip to the end. We're going to talk about our top 10 films of the year, or like our top 5. I mean, it is our top 10, but it was a weird year.
Struggle to get 10 good films this year.
We had a lot of trouble putting that list together. We'll talk about it when we get there. Before we get to all that, we need to talk about the news. The first story, Pixar's new film, Turning Red, is now going straight to Disney Plus following Omicron and the pandemic, and word on the street is a lot of Pixar people are bummed about this. Andy, what do you know about this story?
So Turning Red, which was Pixar's latest film, which is supposed to be out in March, sometime in the spring, supposed to be a theatrical release. And this looks good. It looks really, really cute and funny. And it was announced on Friday that it would be going straight to Disney Plus, which was a real bummer for Pixar and the people who work there. They were really looking forward to a theatrical release. And this is the third movie in a row, I believe, that will be theatrical release for them, so they're not too happy about that. But this mostly has to do with the Omicron surge, and also family films have really struggled to come back at the box office.
Yeah. It's a bit of a bummer. There's this report from insiders saying Pixar staffers are saying that they're disappointed that another one of their features won't be in theaters, and I think a lot of fans are too. Disney has been slowly. It seems maybe they haven't been doing this, but at least from the outside, it seems like Disney has slowly been shifting talent from the proper Pixar studio, which they own, it's theirs, I get it, but into their Disney animated features department. You can see that with the success of films like Tangled or Frozen 2. Versus Pixar's kind of waning success. They're still obviously putting out good features, but their last two, Soul and Luca, both went straight to Disney Plus. You didn't have to pay anything extra. They were basically just add-ons for the service. Whereas like their proper animated features, like Encanto, you would have had to pay if you wanted to watch that in the first 90 days. It's weird. And I think fans of Pixar are a little off-put by this news. I mean, it's nice they'll be able to watch these things at home with the subscription they already have. But also, it feels like a weird bit of a slight, little disrespect towards Pixar and what it is. Like, it seems like their movies are getting smaller and Disney animated features are only getting bigger. What do you think?
Well, I think first of all, they're definitely putting all their eggs in the Buzz Lightyear basket, which is supposed to be out later in the summer. Yeah. The Lightyear film. So I think they're probably going to really push for that to be theatrical. But again, the box office has been bad during COVID, and it looks like it's going to continue to be bad into the spring. And I also read somewhere that distribution decisions have to be made 3 months in advance. So, which is now for Turning Red. So they have to make the call pretty far in advance, which sucks because it could turn around. We could be in a much better place in 3 months, but the decision has to be made today. I think that they still get a lot of value for Disney Plus, because if you have a streaming service, you have to have a lot of content and a lot of new content constantly. So I think that'll help their service and their subscribers. All that, it does suck for Pixar employees.
Yeah, and the optics don't look great. It's worth mentioning when Disney bought when they bought 20th Century Fox, one of the assets they got was Blue Sky Studios, which was 20th Century Fox's animation department. That was the biggest animation company on the West Coast over in California, and they shut the whole thing down. They put all those people out of work. Disney, that the House of Mouse will not be stopped, I guess. And whatever it is they're doing under the advisement of, I assume, their new CEO, Bob Chapek, it doesn't look great to me from the outside, but they're turning out banger films. We're talking about Encanto later in this podcast. So if you want to hear more about that, stick around. Next up, we got to talk about the box office. Spider-Man is still crushing it at number 1. Meanwhile, 355 completely flopped. Almost couldn't have been a bigger flop, and that's really a bummer. I say that being a person who also did not see it and does not appear to be reviewing it on their movie podcast. Andy, what's going on at the movies?
So of course, Spider-Man continues to dominate. No surprise there. The bigger story is that this kind of spy action, all-female led film, the 355, totally bombed. But completely forgot about this. I didn't see any marketing or any of that. And this seems like something that definitely should have been sold to Netflix instead of trying to release in theaters.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that 355 is the same kind of energy as something like, I don't know. Netflix's Gunpowder Milkshake, but I am going to say that Gunpowder Milkshake had a lot more attention and a lot more advertising than it feels like this movie had. It's a bummer. The cast in the 355 is solid. We got Jessica Chastain, Diane Kruger, Penelope Cruz, and Lupita Nyong'o just to start. That's good talent. I assume it's good action. I mean, I really don't know a lot about the movie. I remember seeing ads for it almost
a long time ago.
A long time ago. And they've been sitting on this thing, and it's a bummer that it finally comes out and like nothing happens. Totally should have gone to streaming services. What do you figure the odds are we actually end up watching this, Andy? I mean, surely it will be kicked to people.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be on demand, ready to rent in the 17-day minimum that it has to go. So it'll move there and probably try to find some second life on a streaming service. And it's unfortunate because when you have, I always feel like when you have films like these, which are all female led, they have kind of this unfair pressure to succeed. And this has kind of been set up to fail, I think.
It does feel like unfair pressure. That's true. And probably shouldn't be putting that on it. But dude, I haven't seen Lupita Nyong'o in a movie in a while, and she's super good. It bums me out that like this is the first thing I've heard of her being in a minute, and like nothing's happened. She got nominated for Academy Award for Us, and she's super good in it. So like I don't know. There's some people in this movie that I like. I'm bummed that it went nowhere. That's the 355. And again, Spider-Man is continuing to crush it. What's going to topple that, do you think? I mean, other than time, because there's nothing really cool coming out in January. So I think just over time, people will stop going to see it.
Yeah, well, I wonder if Scream this weekend might if a bunch of horror fans come out for that, that might have upset it, but that would be kind of surprising, I think. There's really nothing until it's going to be a bad couple of months. Let's hang in there for Bold Cinema, and for maybe we'll be watching a lot on streaming, because I was looking at the calendar and it is weak. And actually, that'll be a good segment for us to do next week is January, February film preview.
Yes, yeah, and for anybody concerned, rest assured, these months typically that's when we watch like the obscure stuff we didn't get to last year, right? Like this is around this time last year is when we watched Another Round, great movie from 2020. We watched it a little late, but the point is we find good indie features in this time. So keep it here on Off Script for more. And a quick aside about Spider-Man crushing at the box office before we go on to our last story. I went and saw the tragedy of Macbeth this weekend at like a megaplex, like a 30-screen theater in town, because that was one of the only places that was running it. They had the surplus screens and could run it. And when I was getting my popcorn, the person serving me, they were like, "What are you going to see today?" And I said, "Macbeth." And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "The tragedy of Macbeth." And they were like, "Oh," and like clearly had no idea, or just didn't have anything to say about it. And they just got kind of quiet and said nothing. And so I get my popcorn, go to the end of the line. Thanks. The next person comes up. "What are you going to see today?" They ask them, and then they go, "Oh, Spider-Man." They're like, "Oh my God, it's so good!" Like they just light up. Like you talk about Spider-Man.
Yeah. You had 3 movies you could answer with that, and the tragedy of Macbeth was not one of them.
Yes, but we're talking about Macbeth, so let's get through this last story. We'll jump right into it. The Golden Globes happened. They sure did, and The Power of the Dog and West Side Story were topping the private ceremony amid the ongoing boycott. Andy, how did you partake the Golden Globes this year? I'll tell you what I did. I literally refreshed their website and watched it update live.
That's I didn't even see that. I just saw this article the day after. That's how
it was so sad. Yeah, I found a thread on Twitter where somebody had a link to like the Golden Globes website, and it just said at the bottom of the awards page, it had all the nominees listed, and it was like, "We're just going to update the winners in bold as we go." And I was like, "As we go through what? Are y'all in a room doing this somewhere, or is it just somebody like editing the web page?"
Did they not live stream it?
I didn't see
Probably
anything.
Not.
No,
Probably not, actually. Yeah,
I didn't see anything. really weird, really weird. For those of you who may have just tuned in and are not caught up on the Golden Globes, due to some quality controversy last year, the Golden Globes lost pretty much all of their streaming or broadcast partners and had nowhere to stream or broadcast their shows. So they didn't book a venue. They didn't get like a stage. They didn't invite a bunch of celebrities out and do a red carpet thing. They didn't do any of that stuff. None of it. They just updated the website, I think. With the winners, and we've got the list. So let's talk about it. Andy, where do we get started here?
Well, we'll just go through the big nominees or the big winners. So best motion picture drama went to The Power of the Dog. Other nominations were Belfast, Coda, Dune, and King Richard. So The Power of the Dog, that's what we talked about last week, and it's been getting a lot of buzz, and we'll see if it kind of gets more buzz during Oscar season. It is a struggle to watch, is what I've told everyone.
It's interesting that it won. It actually got a bit of love in here. I want to say Best Director went to Jane Campion, right? Yes, Power of the Dog. Also, Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role went to Cody Smith-McPhee in Power of the Dog. Power of the Dog got a surprising amount of love, and I didn't expect that. I won't expect that at the Oscars. It's good, but like I just feel like the Oscars are a bit more flash and flare, and something like Dune would probably pull more attention.
Yeah, something's make a bigger splash.
Yeah, this was a curious one, but let's continue. I'm not going to read. I don't think we need to read nominees. I'll just blow through some of the big categories. Best performance by an actor in a motion picture went to Will Smith for King Richard. Surprising win for Will. Good for him. He's great in that movie. Best performance by an actress goes to Nicole Kidman in Being the Ricardos. A lot of people said she was miscast. I haven't seen the film. I can't say for sure. Best motion picture, musical or comedy goes to Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. Best animated motion picture is Encanto. Best director, Jane Campion, Power of the Dog. Best screenplay, Kenneth Branagh in Belfast. And best original score, Dune, Hans Zimmer's score.
There we go.
Which was good. From what I at least initially saw, I am surprised Dune did not get more love. I really expected that to kind of be the top of things, and it barely got much attention at all. I mean, Dune at least caught some nominations, but for the most part, like, you don't see it much here. Also, very little Spider-Man. Not saying Spider-Man's an award-winning film, but I at least would think it would be on here somewhere. But man, they're particular this year.
Right. Well, again, these awards aren't very well respected or revered, but they are kind of a little bit of an insight into what we might expect to see when the Oscar nominations are announced next month, beginning of next month.
So keep it here on Off Script for that. Overall, we'll see what happens with the Globes. I don't know if this is like the slow, supernova death of the Golden Globes or what this is, the burnout, but it's definitely weird. So Golden Globes 2021 came and went. With that, we should jump into our first feature. Andy's going to be taking the summary on this. Andy, thank you. I appreciate it. It's a complex one to be sure. Please take it away.
The Tragedy of Macbeth. So this is the latest adaptation of Shakespeare's famous play Macbeth, directed by Joel Coen of the Coen brothers fame, starring Denzel Washington as the titular Macbeth, Frances McDormand as Lady Macbeth, and a bunch of other who's who in the cast. For those not familiar with the story, Macbeth is a 16th century Scottish nobleman who, at the beginning of this battle, comes across three witches who tell him he will, be entitled to fame and fortune, and that he will be king, and he will be named, all this premonition. And then one of those premonitions comes true, and he begins to think, well, maybe I am king, maybe I will be. He then murders the king himself to make sure he is crowned, and then he has to deal with the fallout of that, and actually goes on a bit of a murder spree throughout the play. It's very famous. It's been done numerous times, most recently in 2015 with Michael Fassbender playing Macbeth. That film was by Justin Kurzweil. I also starred Marion Cotillard. This is very different. Usually you either get kind of period appropriate Macbeth, or you get like modernized crazy version. And this week we have something that is period set, but also very, very kind of modern and art house style. There's a lot to talk about, a lot going on in here, and as well as I have to tell you my my screening of this because it was actually really terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, Andy. Well, why don't we start there, Andy? What the hell happened when you went and because you saw it in theaters like I did,
Yeah. So
but you just had a messy audience.
yeah, it was the audience and the venue. I was at the Angelica Dallas, and I just had a very chatty audience. It was an older crowd. They were a lot of people whisper talking throughout the whole movie about this and that, and the people kept. Oh, this was the weird. People kept falling in the middle of the movie, like falling in the aisles. Like they have these really short seat backs. I guess people were like catching their feet as they were trying to, and no less than 4 people fell.
Four people.
Yeah,
How long? It's an hour and 45-minute film.
Yeah,
Four people took a dive.
2 were at the very end as we were leaving, but 2 fell like in the middle of it.
I assume these are people getting up to walk out because they did not like what was happening.
Yeah, it was just a lot of people up and down, a lot of noise, a lot of chatting, people falling. It was just it wasn't a great screening because of the audience.
Mine was very quiet, other than the person serving popcorn who was like, "What is it you're going to see?" It was very relaxed. I think there was one other person in there. It was very quiet.
That's how I wish I had seen it.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to go. Like really, really private and intimate. Interestingly, Shakespeare's work was originally meant to be seen, like obviously on a stage with an audience. This is not that. This is a screen. This is something a little bit more intimate. And Joel Coen leans in. The tragedy of Macbeth is a really cool spin on the story that most of us already know, but it is fundamentally it's Shakespeare. It is Shakespeare for Shakespeare's sake. It is direct Shakespeare. It's the script is Shakespeare. So that means if you're familiar with Shakespeare, that a lot of it is very dense language that has a lot of double meanings and entendres and metaphors that's also coming at you very quickly. So if you're not familiar with the story, I think this movie might be a bit of a bear to get into, but I am pretty familiar with it and I enjoyed it, I think, a lot. How familiar are you with the OG Shakespeare story?
I'm pretty familiar with it. I've read it before. I've seen I watched the 2015 version a couple of times. I really like that adaptation. And I generally enjoy Shakespeare I was trying to think of some of the other modern ones. Coriolanus comes to mind, which again it's like this military thing, and like Gerard Butler's in it, like doing Shakespeare. Like it works, even though you don't think it should.
Right. Yeah, I always think of like Baz Luhrmann's Romeo plus Juliet, right? Starring Leonardo DiCaprio and John Leguizamo. This movie is a bit of a different approach. It is entirely in black and white. It is filmed on a soundstage. I think they shot it in 35 days. So it was a really quick shoot. It's very low budget. It's small cast, and it's just Joel Coen, right? Of the Coen brothers. There's a great write-up out of Variety about Coen working on this film, how he came to it. And really what it is after 18 features with his brother, he just wanted just kind of a breath of fresh air just to try something a little different. And he's married. Joel Coen is married to Frances McDormand, and Frances McDormand was cast in a Macbeth play, and she was playing an older Lady Macbeth with a bit of a different motivation, right? Lady Macbeth in the original work encourages her husband to kill the king so the two of them can take the throne. In this version, I'll talk about why she's doing it when I get to her character. But the point is, his Joel Coen's wife, Frances McDormand, was doing Macbeth, and he thought, well, that's actually really cool. And he went and saw it and thought, I really like this story. This is something really interesting here, and I like this read of Lady Macbeth being older and being a little wiser, and maybe not being as young and ambitious as she often is in Macbeth plays. So if I was gonna adapt Macbeth, who would I get to play Macbeth, to play opposite Frances, right? It's got to be somebody older, somebody unique. And he arrived on Denzel Washington, and then he thought, okay, well that's cool. Who would I get to play Duncan? And he just started kind of working his way back in his head, and before he knew it, he thought, I have a feature here. I need to turn this into something. So they booked a soundstage, they got together, and they made it happen. It's simple, it's small, and it's almost like an indie film, and it will be on Apple Plus, I think, on January 14th. But for now, it's in theaters. That's where we saw it. But boy, it's It's a unique feature.
Mhm.
It really is almost more like a short film or an indie film than it is like a full on something, because it's very intimate and it's very small.
Right. So that's probably one of the big differences we can start getting into. So the 2015 version is very cinematic. It looks a lot like Braveheart. There's a big battle scene. They're in castles and in there. I think they actually filmed in Scotland. Like it's very, very. It looks like a movie. This is very different. It looks more like a play a lot of times. Like feel like you're on a stage, or you feel
Yes.
you're because it's very, very minimalistic. You don't have big crowds, usually just like a few people on camera at a time. Like everything is very, very minimalistic, and it gives it a different feel. One of the standouts, we can talk a lot about performances, but one of the things that's done really well are the witches, which are a famous part of Macbeth, and in every version that's it's kind of a highlight of the play, and it's on a whole other level. And the person that I want to look to see who this up.
Yes.
Catherine
Yeah.
Hunter is an actress that I don't know. She plays the witch, and she is amazing. Like just incredible. There's two witch scenes in Macbeth. There's one at the very beginning, one about halfway through. And they're both just incredible. And this is probably the most fun in this version that I had. I really liked those scenes.
Yeah, the lean on kind of the soundstage look is important. They designed all of their sets to intentionally look as if you were looking at a stage, which makes sense, right? It's a Shakespeare play, but it also leans into this kind of like ethereal presentation. The film opens with Macbeth kind of walking in through this like fog that's present, and it gives it this kind of dreamlike quality, and that's what Joel Coen says he was going for. That it was kind of like almost like you're kind of shifting through a dream, this kind of unique version of Macbeth you may already know, or this kind of new tale. But either way, it's kind of a reach back to history, and maybe just a bit of that mystical, and that comes out so well with Catherine Hunter as the witches. She's amazing. She has a ton of stage work under her belt. As far as films go, the most recent thing she was in, she plays Harry Potter's neighbor in Harry Potter 5. I think she was friends with the director or something. That is in no way a big role. She's got like 4 lines and that's it. But in this movie, my God, she literally steals the show. Every scene she's in, I'm like glued to the screen looking at her.
Yeah,
She's
it's like
older and
it's like Denzel who.
yeah, like she has such a brilliant, like guttural, earthly, otherworldly delivery to her lines, like to presenting this kind of mystical double toil and trouble magic that Macbeth is meant to kind of be interested in, but also maybe a little scared of. And she does it so good. She's got a little like body work in there. She's a bit of a contortionist, and she's older, and like she just draws the eye in a way that like is hard to nail down. Denzel, meanwhile, as our titular Macbeth, is pretty good. I liked most of his performance. So I think Andy, you were the one who pointed out he does maybe go a little too far at a couple points, and you're right. He does start shouting lines at times
Yeah,
where it feels a little too aggressive.
I
But
feel
what'd
with
you think?
yeah, I feel like with Shakespeare, you got to be careful because you can't turn it up to 11. It's not, I keep making this analogy. You can't handle the truth. It's not one of those lines. Like you got to turn it up to like 8. Like when we think of like the Romeo and Juliet, the Leonardo DiCaprio version, everyone in that movie is like screaming their lines and like shrieking, and it's like it's not. It feels out of place, and so Denzel does a little bit of that, but for the most part, he's solid. He goes a little bit overboard, and then but at the same time, half the time he's like doing mumblecore, and like I was having a hard time like understanding him. Sometimes he's like a little bit too reserved, but overall, I thought he was fine, and it's exciting to kind of see. And I don't think I've ever seen a version with a black Macbeth or played by a black actor. So, and there's a lot of black actors in this version.
Yeah, the Macduff is also played by a black actor, Corey Hawkins, who I remember most recently from King Kong Skull Island, and briefly he's in Black Klansman with a scene-stealing performance. It's a very diverse cast. We jump around in age range a little bit. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth are older, which I think gives them interesting motivations, right? Like in previous versions I've seen, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth are they're on the come up, right? They're on the grind. They're trying to get the bag. And like Macbeth's a lord, but like he wants to be king. So when the witches come and they tell him after this great battle that, hey, you're going to be king, all hail Macbeth, that's exciting. And his wife takes that and says, hey, let's roll on this, and we will make you king by murdering the king, right? We're on the grind. But in this film, Lady Macbeth and Macbeth, they're older, right? And they're on the other side of the hill. Their hair is gray, and they're on the come down. And Lady Macbeth has a much more interesting spin in that she is motivated by a bit of envy and a bit of, hey, it's our turn now. Like, we have done this. We have played Lord and Lady long enough. Like, now it is our time to take what's ours. Like, we've earned this. We deserve it. A really interesting angle on the exact same text that people were reading 400 years ago on stage, right? Like, and that's a unique approach. Meanwhile, you've got, like I said, like Andy said, a cast of colorful characters, different races, ethnicity, and I enjoyed the way different actors and actresses approach Shakespeare. Denzel's a little hardcore sometimes, but for the most part, he plays it straight. Frances McDormand knows the material so well that maybe she speaks at times too fast. Lady Macbeth, she's chewing through text.
Yeah.
But then you look at somebody like Brendan Gleeson playing King Duncan. He's thoughtful and sincere, and he speaks slowly, and you can catch every word he says. Everybody's got a different read on Shakespeare, and I think Joel Coen wanted the artists, his theatrical playwrights here, to bring a little of that in. I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were mentioning this kind of different spin. And I think that's the real challenge of doing Shakespeare is, well, how do you make it different? How do you not do everything that's been done? Another thing that stands out is with the witches, there's this whole like bird theme, which is totally new. This isn't something from the play or something that I've seen in other, that's not in the original text. Like there's a whole thing where the witches kind of, they look bird-like. There's what, in the middle scene, they're up on like these ceiling structure things, and they're
rafters.
Yeah, and they just kind of look like vultures, and there's a lot of like bird imagery, which is very unique to this film and not something I've seen before. And again, that's one of those things that I really liked and that stands out in something that, again, how do you do something that's a little bit different?
Right, it does. I think the raven, the kind of theme of like a raven being a sign of things to come, has been used in other Shakespeare plays, I think in maybe certain adaptations of Macbeth, but I've never seen it featured so strongly here. And it's effective not only because it feels like a kind of otherworldly element, right? This witch who may be a shapeshifter or have some kind of connection to nature that like other humans don't have, but also it plays great visually. The movie is in 4:3. It is not widescreen. It is square, or almost square, and it's entirely black and white. And being on a small stage, filmed very quickly, black and white, right? Small budget. It seems like visually that would be a bit bland, but it's kind of quite the opposite. While you can see the seams of the stage, that's usually played for really great visual effect. At times, the back of the stage may be completely black backdrop with little specks of light coming through it to illustrate the night sky, right? And you can see the back of it, but like it works because it's supposed to represent something bigger and tangibly in this kind of dreamlike presentation that Joel Coen's cooked up. That works great. And the darkest darks come through on screen, right? You can see these wonderful gradients of grays and blacks coming through that really bring out detail. They bring out the wrinkles on Macbeth's face, right? And they bring out like the frustration in Banquo's eyes, and like they help you see a side of these characters you simply would never get on stage. It's played visually to create really, really stunning visuals with their set design. Some of their architecture and lighting are like really fantastic in these castle scenes, even though they're small. And the way the camera set creates almost like brutalist art, like it's hard to describe, but there's frames in this movie that are really stunning. Like some of the best stuff I've seen in theaters all year.
It looks like an illustration at times.
Yes.
Reminds me of like if you were reading a graphic novel, comic book kind of thing. It actually reminded me of Frank Miller, of Sin City. Actually, the just the black and whites telling the story through it. Again, very static images at times.
Yeah, and like really, really taking the opportunity, taking taking the horse by the reins and leaning into that small budget and small thinking and small sets to create something really fantastic on screen. Like that's a good exercise, and I'm glad Joel Coen took advantage of it. This is the first. I was just reading on IMDb. This is the first feature he's done without his brother since like ever. This is technically his first one. Ethan Coen was uncredited in Coen films until 2004, though retroactively Joel Coen says that he helped him with every single one. Raising Arizona was a Coen brothers feature, even though at the beginning of the film it says a film by Joel Coen. This one, though, is uniquely his own, and I think it's a really a triumph to see that, like, even though this is a small project, even though this is not a big feature, like there are moments of real magic. But that's not without fault. The second act in this movie sags a bit.
It does drag. It does drag indeed.
It does drag because it's Shakespeare. Like for everything glowing I have to say about the visuals and the presentation, it is Shakespeare. And like there are people who are going to get real bored watching Shakespeare, and that's okay. It's not for everybody.
Yeah, the second act kind of starts after the death of the king, and there's a lot of again talking. There's different people in different rooms. It's Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. It's I can't remember what Flay Hunts and
Banquo,
people. It's like 2 and 3 people, and not a ton happens. That's when there's a famous kind of dinner scene where Macbeth starts to kind of hallucinate, or he starts to see the ghost of the people he's killed. It definitely drags a little bit in the play in general, and especially in this version.
Yeah, it does. One more thing I wanted to mention before we move on to recommendations and then our top 10 lists and then Encanto, because we've got a lot of show to go. I did want to mention Alex Hassel in the film as Ross. I have not seen this man appear on screen yet, I think. This is one of his first big roles. He is stunningly good in this movie. He plays Macbeth's he plays the right hand of the king, really. So he's the right hand to Duncan, and then following that, he becomes Macbeth's right hand. He carries out some dirty work for him, and this dude has like piercing eyes. His gaze is strong in this movie. Like he hardly ever blinks. He is just creepy and foreboding and super good. Like even if I don't know what he's saying because it's Shakespeare, I feel like I understand what he's doing because of Alex Hassel's work. Most recently, he is the villain in Netflix's Cowboy Bebop series. And other than that, I don't know what else the guy's done. Keep an eye out for him. I hope he gets more work.
I thought he was Jude Law for a second.
I know. Yeah, right. Or he looks like I can't remember. He looks like somebody I know. But anyway, Andy, any other thoughts for recommendations?
I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend The Tragedy of Macbeth?
I would recommend it for people who are already really familiar with the source material. Like if you've seen Macbeth before, or you've read it, if you've played it, if you've performed Macbeth, especially. If you're really familiar with the source material, I think you'll dig this. If you're not, I don't think this is the place to start, which is a comment our good friend Matt said, because the story is a little confusing. Like just Shakespeare is a little confusing if you're not really familiar with it already. The book version that I have has a bunch of explanation on every page, what all the phrases and a lot of like outdated words and things like that. So there's a lot going on, and if you're not familiar, I don't think you'd enjoy this. But I would say if you are familiar, then so. What I'm trying to say is that if you haven't seen Macbeth before, the 2015 version, I think, is the better place to start.
Yes, I'm kind of uniquely in the same camp. I like this movie a lot. I think it is a recommendation only for those who really liked old cinema, because it's non-traditional. And yeah, you should probably know the story going in. I don't think this is the freshest way to like get into Macbeth. I think because of its stage presentation, even though it is trying to do this like ethereal thing, ultimately, it harkens back to the old play. It knows where it's coming from. And I think because this film acknowledges that origin and acknowledges what it is and where it comes from, you should probably have an idea of what that is too before you walk in. Like, I feel like that would help you enjoy it. It helped me enjoy it. If you don't like Shakespeare, obviously not a film for you. This is a direct adaptation. It is the same language. It is the same text, just with new people saying it. So if you're not into that, stay far away from Tragedy Macbeth. But if you do like it, keep an eye out for it on Apple Plus on January 14th when it comes out. Just a couple days now from when we're recording. And you know, I don't know. That's Tragedy Macbeth. And with that, we should move on to our next segment. This is a big deal every year, and I'm excited we're finally talking about it because it took me forever to get together. Andy, you want to do the formal announcement?
It is time for our top 10 films of the year.
Yay. Top 10 of the year. Yeah, no, it is exciting. It's a big deal.
This is always this is always a fun thing to do. Put together our list, and I start doing this during the year. When I see a great film, I add it to the list and just wait to see if other things come on to. It's easier to keep up with it in the meantime.
Andy, yeah, there's two kinds of film reviewers. All right, there's the professionals like Andy who like by November 1st you had like a soft list together. You're like, oh dude, like I already got like 8 picks. I'm just gonna see some more and maybe move them around for the most part. Me, like 20 minutes before the show, I was like, what's gonna go here? What can I put in here? But regardless, we've got them, and the lists are pretty good. I think they're solid lists. I don't think they're too obscure. I think what we saw last year is mostly translatable for everybody. There's a couple features on here that maybe the average movie goer didn't see, but I think overall we're not too pompous. These are good lists. These are solid lists, in my opinion.
All right, so let's So let's go from our. It's going reverse order from 10 to number 1, and I'll do my first 5. Yes.
Okay. So can I pitch you an idea? Because I feel like every year this is a little clumsy. Sure. I think what we should do is basically, like, I know it's fine on the show. Here's what I'm thinking. Let's go through basically your list as a blueprint, and then each one you say. So when you say, "Oh, my number 9 was this," I'll just say what mine was, and then we'll talk about your pick. That's easier than the back and forth. So basically, you lead this, and I will just kind of go, "Oh yeah, it was mine," or whatever, and we'll be fine. Because they're honestly a lot of the picks are the same. Most of them are the same. They're just in a different order. So you know.
So I don't even have 10. It was a struggle of a year. I actually only have 9, and then I have some.
Which I think is good.
Yeah, there's something I could have, but I could not come up with 10 great films.
I'd rather you not, right? It's like the Oscars. Like if you don't have 8 good picks for the year, pick 5 or whatever. Like it's fine, you know. Just be honest about it.
So starting with my number 9 is The Matrix Resurrections.
Who'd have thought you'd see The Matrix 4 on the top 10 of the year?
Right. This has been an incredibly divisive film. You either love it or hate. You're either on board with what Lana Wachowski's trying to do, or you're not. It definitely worked for me. It's a very non-traditional kind of sequel. She was not looking to like continue what had been done before. The movie is very metaphysical. It's very, it's addressing a lot of issues within its own legacy, and while also trying to give us a lot of new lore and new things. It feels like 3 movies in one. I've watched it several times, and I like it every time I watch it a little bit more. And I'm always excited for The Matrix. And yeah, I was excited to go back to the world. So that's my number 9.
My number 9 was Encanto, which we'll be talking about in just a minute. So that's exciting. That's on the list. Anyway, regarding The Matrix, I think what's exciting about The Matrix Resurrections is it's a brilliant response to the constant wave of like nostalgia bait, cash in, reboot, rehash, re-sequel things that's so popular nowadays, right? Like all these big studios are going out and grabbing properties and remaking a new thing as fast as they can to make as much money as possible, ride the nostalgia wave for audiences everywhere. And The Matrix Resurrections not only meets that challenge, but addresses it, responds to it, and in my opinion, exceeds it. If you're going to have a movie that represents what the age of like 2021 nostalgia reboots is, The Matrix Resurrections is the best possible answer for it. And I think it's a great pick on the list. What's next?
At number 8 is Spider-Man No Way Home.
My God. Spider-Man on the list?
Yeah. This was, of course, the culmination of 20 years or so of Spider-Man movies, culminating in a bunch of villains and heroes all coming together, and this shows this is the right way to do nostalgia and those kinds of things to cash in on what you've done before. Star Wars needs to be taking notes, because we had a real story, we had real heroes, real villains, real stakes, real loss, and it was a great fun movie. And of course, it's made over $1 billion, $1.5 billion. And actually, it's been a big surprise. They knew it was going to be successful. They didn't realize it was going to be this successful.
My number 8 was The Matrix Resurrections. So, like I said, not a very different list. But regarding Spider-Man No Way Home, I think Spider-Man is such a cool comic book movie that breaks a lot of the rules of how a movie is supposed to work. I mean, it at times it almost feels like that exact thing I was just criticizing regarding The Matrix, right? Just nostalgia, cash grab. But what it does is it looks at the properties that came before the previous Spider-Man, the previous Spider-Man villains, the previous lore, and it approaches them with a sense of gratitude. Like it thanks those creators, it thanks those people who are passionate about those properties for doing what they did and building a legacy where we have now. It pays tribute to them, it honors them, and it does it in a way that's fun and exciting and funny and bold and emotional. I really, really like Spider-Man No Way Home. And I feel like of all the comic book movies that have come out of Marvel's slate of 28 or however many they've done now, of all of them, Stan Lee would have loved this one a lot. Like, this is a special kind of comic book movie, and there's something really unique about it. If you haven't seen it, go see Spider-Man. What's next, Andy?
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Speaking of comic book movies, my God, how did Zack Snyder's Justice League make it on your list? I had this as an honorable mention. My number 7 was Titan. What do you know about this movie?
So Zack Snyder, he was given an extra $70 million to complete his vision of Justice League. And so we got this 4-hour monster of a movie, completely different from Joss Whedon's, different in tone and style. The score is completely different. We get a lot more story of a number of characters. This really turned it around for me, because I was not a fan of the previous Justice League, and Zack Snyder's work in the comic book realm hasn't been great. But I was really surprised by a lot of this, and it's a shame it's not going to really be continued after he seemed to finally get his footing.
Zack Snyder's Justice League is not on my top 10 list, but I want you to know that when I was drafting it, it was for a long time, and it's definitely an honorable mention. I thought about putting this on here because when I think back on Zack Snyder's Justice League uniquely, it's an experience that I like. Like, I think there's something going on in this movie I respect, not because it's Justice League, right? But because Zack Snyder's Justice League is a bit more. It's an extension of a creator's work that was never really meant to be seen, right? Warner intended for that to be released. That was never supposed to be finished. And there were memes, and we laughed about it on the show, about fans making petitions for Zack Snyder's Justice League. But then it finally comes out, and it turns out it's not just some goofy comic cash-in. It's actually a bit of a thoughtful something, like with a soundtrack that's slower and a pace that's different, like and a body of work that ultimately I think is better than the actual theatrical release. It's better than Joss Whedon's Justice League. So yeah, it's not one of the best movies of the year to me, but it's a really cool movie. And Zack Snyder's Justice League is not something you should sleep on, in my opinion.
My number 6 is West Side Story.
Number 6 was Annette.
So both musicals.
Sorely missing, sorely lacking, I see, from your your last 4 here, but maybe we'll get to it. Yeah, but both musicals. Why, Andy? I'm going to be honest. I didn't see West Side Story making your list.
And so mostly because of scope and spectacle. Same way, we talked about Dune just being so massive. That's how West Side Story is for the musical. Like the musical numbers. I mean, it is a very it's not an updated remake. It's a total remake of the original film. It's set in the 50s. It's those same characters, but it's just modernized with the dance numbers are so good. The performances are really solid. It shows the kind of the right way to do a remake of a classic film. And I mean, there's 60 years past the original. We're really phenomenal. I thought and it's a shame because this is yet another one of those dramas that's just not doing real great. that are aimed at adults. But I thought it was done just from a directorial standpoint, performances and all that. Like it's everything you go to the movies for.
Yeah, my only criticism of West Side Story is it feels a little bit too much like a West Side Story adaptation and a little not enough like a Steven Spielberg film. And while it
Right.
is uniquely both, West Side Story stays so close to its original roots. Like it doesn't stray far enough away, I think, for Spielberg to have any real opportunity to be an auteur and make something new. It's a fresh coat of paint on something I already love. And if you love West Side Story, this is in no way going to tarnish your opinion of that play. This is a loving tribute to it and the musical work and the Broadway that came before and since. Spielberg pays tribute to it in the best way. But if you're a lover of Spielberg first and of West Side Story second, this movie may not be your favorite of his filmography. But I'm glad it's on the list. I'm glad we got to talk about it. What's next?
My number 5 was The Card Counter.
A unique feature. All right, to The Card Counter.
So for those of you who don't remember, this was Paul Schrader's latest film, who wrote and directed it, starring Oscar Isaac as a war veteran who takes up gambling to kind of focus his energy on that, so he doesn't go do terrible things from the PTSD he has from the war. It turns into a little bit of a revenge film as well. We eventually meet Ty Sheridan and I can't remember her name. Tiffany Haddish are also in the film. This might be Oscar Isaac's best performance that I've ever seen. He really has some amazing stuff. I'm worried that it'll get overlooked because it was such a small film that I don't think anyone else saw this really. This movie's about anything but playing cards and gambling, and I really loved it.
I actually really liked The Card Counter as well. I was skeptical going in, and I think in my review I was a bit skeptical too, but it's aged better in my head since I saw it. I feel like The Card Counter is like 60%, maybe 70% a mediocre film. It is a small budget, shot mostly in hotels, like from a director who has mostly experience writing. A small cast. It's pretty simple, but the other 30% of The Card Counter is some of the best stuff I've seen in a movie theater all year. There is a sequence in particular in this film that was so stunning. I started laughing in my seat. I enjoyed it so much. I think The Card Counter is really unique, and I think you're right. It might be Oscar Isaac's best performance ever. Might be tippity top, and I know that sounds funny because Oscar Isaac's been in a lot of features. How could you say this is his best? But like the way he digs at this character and its motivation is truly gripping, and I'm glad to see it on the list. What's next?
At number 4 is Teton.
Teton. Yes. How do we talk about this movie?
Okay, so this was the directorial debut, debut. This is the second film by Julia Durkanau, who did Raw a couple of years ago. It was a great horror, kind of psychological horror movie. And this is her follow-up, which follows a young woman named Alexia, who's kind of a serial killer and she goes into hiding. There's this whole transformation. This movie is about so many things. She has this accident when she's a child, has a titanium plate in her head, has this like literally love relationship with cars and automobiles. But this movie's about so many things. It's about love and gender and family and aging and just like a million things. And it's just, it's so intense and insane, like the entire way through. And it's just like when we talk about bold cinema, it's probably the boldest thing we saw all year. Really liked it, and hopefully we get some Oscar love.
Yeah, my number 4 was Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch. Also bold film, but an entirely different way. Titan is like a really, really brutal roller coaster. And I know a lot of people that say, oh, this movie's a real roller coaster, right? Real ride from start to finish. This one's different. This is like a roller coaster you'd ride at an amusement park and get off and be like, dude, my spine hurts. I'm never riding that again. I thought I was going to die. And it's not the best ride you rode all day, but you're never going to forget it. Like 10 years from now, you're going to remember that time you rode that damn coaster that was so brutal you couldn't get away. Titan is, or Titan, I'm not even sure how you say it. It really is something special. I can't remember the last time I watched a movie that made my hair stand on end. like this movie does. And that's not even the best parts of it. Like uniquely, it has messaging woven in it that just has something to say that so often you don't see at the movies. Like a really cool feature. I think it's on Amazon Prime. I think that's where we saw it. I think you probably can still see it there. So if you haven't seen it, don't bring your parents to see
Don't watch it with the kids.
Do not watch it with the kids. You probably shouldn't watch it with anybody. You should watch it alone and then go look in the
If you
mirror,
can catch it, if you can catch it on a big screen, though, I wish we'd been able to do that.
You know, it's funny. I just saw this next week, Texas Theater's running Mandy again. We should keep an eye out for Teton. I bet it comes back, and it'd probably be there or like another local joint. We'd see it. We should totally. I will absolutely go see that movie again. Like, my God. Anyway, what's next?
Number 3 is Lamb.
Yes, the only feature I haven't seen of your list. I missed Lamb.
So Lamb was the Icelandic horror film. Came out in mid-October, starring Noomi Rapace. As a sheep farmer, her and her husband have kind of lost a child, and they are blessed on Christmas Day with this kind of lamb child, half sheep, half human child, which they begin raising as their own. And that's the premise. And it's a really bizarre premise, but it's about a lot of things. It's a very much like a psychological horror. Reminds me a little bit of The Shining, because they're out in this very secluded, Icelandic farmland. There's only 3 or 4 people in the film. Again, it's about a lot of things. It's about loss and mourning and family. And I got to see it twice because I went with a friend to see it a second time. Really something else. It might be shortlisted for best foreign film. So we'll see. That's Lamb.
My number 3 was Spider-Man No Way Home. We've obviously talked about that already. And while I didn't see Lamb, I can at least tell you why I didn't watch Lamb, because I think it's worth mentioning. It's Andy's number 3 top 3 films of the year, and I haven't even seen the damn thing. I didn't see Lamb because I saw the trailer for Lamb, and I thought, you know what, A24, I love you to death.
Not today.
This one might be a bridge too far. Yeah, like when you got a kid dressed up with a lamb head or a CGI or whatever the hell's going on in that movie, I thought, you know what? Nope, I'm out. I looked up on IMDb. It has like 3 people in it. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to go see something else this week. And I just missed it. And that seems like that was a big mistake, especially because I see it so high on your list here. I need to see this movie, obviously. I wish I could see it in a theater. I'm sure I've missed that opportunity. But if you haven't seen Lamb, keep an eye out, because just like me, I hope you're curious after hearing this.
For sure.
What's number 2?
Number 2, The Green Knight.
With the bullet, baby. Yes.
Oh, greatest of kings. So this was the movie I was probably looking forward to the most this year. It had been delayed a year because of the pandemic. We finally got to see it. This is, of course, the story of Sir Gawain, of King Arthur fame, who he is challenged by the Green Knight to a duel. He cuts his head off. The Green Knight gets up and says, "I'll see you in a year. To return the same blow." He has to go off on an adventure to seek out the Green Knight and learn to become a chivalrous knight along the way. Really love the style of this movie. The character, very different. Usually in these kind of Arthurian legends, we get very noble characters, and they demonstrate what it is to be a virtuous person. In this, we get someone who's not that. We get someone who's very selfish and who has no honor and learns to get it along the way. This is directed by David Lowery. I saw this 3 times. We got to see it with a special screening with David Lowery, doing a Q&A afterwards at Texas Theater, which was really, really neat. Definitely one of my favorites of the year.
The Green Knight is also my number 2, and Andy knows for a while I debated putting it at number 1 because it is such a cool movie and is made on such a small budget from a guy like who's probably our age, a little older, from Dallas. And I don't mean to say, oh, well, the director's from my hometown. Obviously, it's the best. But it just goes to show how far you can get from relatively humble beginnings, right? And it puts every other movie that doesn't meet that bar a little further down the list. I looked at Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho compared to this, and I was like, it's not even a contest which one is the better film. And this one is so much smaller, right? From the director of A Ghost Story. Like it's so much more intimate. And obviously Edgar Wright is not looking to adapt an Arthurian legend into some kind of metaphor about what it truly means to accept fate. But this movie's something special. Yeah, like Andy said, we went and saw it a few times, got to see a Q&A with director David Lowery. If you have not seen The Green Knight, please do yourself a solid and check it out. It is a really, really sincere, really cool film. Loved this movie. And with that, we've got number one.
Number one is Dune.
Dune!
Dune, which
Desert power.
That's right. My Dune. My
Dune. Yes.
Yeah, we were super excited about this all year, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I was worried this movie might kind of bomb, like Blade Runner 2049. You know, big, expensive, original concept, high concept sci-fi. But I loved it. It's again so massive. Denis Villeneuve knows how to tell a great story, and also just think on a really large scale. The score is wonderful. The performances are good. I think I saw it at least twice. I saw it twice in theater, and then I watched part of it at home. Actually, it's actually available this week on DVD, Blu-ray. But definitely one of my favorites of the year. My favorite of the year.
Yeah, Dune is well and truly incredible. A film that people have said comes from a story that simply cannot be made into a good movie. Coming from a director who previously said he will never make a big science fiction feature again. Somehow, these two impossibilities collided and created one of the most unique, most engaging, epic, legendary scale films I've seen at the theater in a long time. Dune is so much fun. It is the reason we go to the movies. It is a movie that should not work, but so works so well that when I left the theater for the next few weeks, and even still, I could not help thinking about the Dunes of Arrakis and the spice melange. Like, what a cool movie. I feel like it made me excited about the world of Dune in the same way Frank Herbert's original work did back in 1967 when nerds just like us picked it up and read it. And that's so perfect. Like, Dune is really unique, a wonderful feature, brilliant cast all around. I don't have enough good things to say about it, and that's Dune. What a year at the movies, Andy.
Yeah, incredible time. Now, you did have some on your list that I didn't.
I did. Yeah. Okay. We talk about that for a minute. I had Encanto, which we'll be talking about in just a moment. My number 9. I had number 6 was Annette, Baby Annette. For anybody who has seen that musical, God, yeah. Let me talk about Annette for a minute. Annette is a smaller feature. It went straight to Amazon. I think it was an Amazon Studios film, starring Adam Driver and Marion Cotillard as two star-crossed lovers who have a young child with a mystical gift of song, and have to find out what that means, and ultimately how they find themselves and their purpose in the world when they're suddenly out of the spotlight and back in the shadows. And that's really cool. It's music by Sparks, the band. Really unique feature. Andy liked it more than me, I think, but I just wanted to put it on here because I thought it was bold cinema. Man. It was doing something I didn't see anywhere else.
Annette grew on me because I didn't really like it at first. It's super kind of weird and bizarre, but I love the soundtrack, and the soundtrack eventually won me over to I've listened to the soundtrack like ad nauseum, and it was actually released in like a longer form version of it was released, and I've been listening to that as well. You have Candyman on here. I completely forgot about Candyman.
What do you mean you forgot about Candyman? Yeah, Candyman was my number 5
because I was disappointed. That's why.
No, okay, so it's worth mentioning. I have never seen the original Candyman. I had no expectations going in. I had no idea what I was getting into. I was looking for a fun romp with Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and I got it in spades. I think Candyman is a ton of fun. The story of a I don't want to say tortured artist, but a troubled artist in living in
Chicago.
Is that what I keep wanting to say? New York. Yeah. Living in a downtrodden community in Chicago, where he discovers the legend of the horror icon Candyman that we know from the films, but he knows from his world in which Candyman is a real thing, obviously, and begins to have unearthly and horrifying visions that may be all too real regarding the murderous Candyman. Really, really unique feature. I love the cinematography in this. There's a couple of scenes where characters are murdered that are so well done. I didn't even really realize what was happening on screen until they were halfway over. It's particularly one wide shot of a skyscraper and a window that I know you're probably familiar with. What did you think? Why the hell isn't Candyman on your list? I mean, come on, you can throw that top 10. That's a 10 spot for sure.
I think so. This is clearly a franchise starter. Like this is almost like a Candyman origin film.
I think that's fair. Yeah,
and that's not what the original Candyman is. Very much, it's a slasher film in the tradition of Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, and where the killer is the killer from the beginning of the film. In this way, it takes us a long time to get to like full-fledged Candyman. And it was just that the films are similar in that they were both very socially conscious. The original is set in again, the Cabrini Green area of Chicago, with Virginia Madsen kind of playing she's the main protagonist, and she is having these visions. She has conjured the Candyman. She's accused of these murders that he's committed, and it's a very different film. And I think maybe I was just expecting something different, so I probably just need to revisit it, knowing what it is. A lot of times when I know where a film is going, then I can appreciate it a little bit more than if I'm guessing a lot.
Right. It's in no way a perfect film, and it's not like one of the best horror slashers of the decade or anything, but like it's pretty solid. Of the horror I saw this year, this is one of my favorite easily. I don't know. I liked it. Yeah, it's stuck with me since, and I think that's a big part of the reason it made the list. The other one that Andy didn't have was Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch at my number 4. The story of the Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun, I think, and the
Yes.
reporters who write for it is unique and different. It's essentially 3 or 4 short films kind of stuck together, but I have really come to respect Wes Anderson over time. It is a Wes Anderson movie for Wes Anderson people. So if you don't like Wes Anderson, it's probably not a movie for you. Andy uniquely not so uniquely. Most people don't. Andy is not a big Wes Anderson fan, so naturally it's not on his list, but I got it here. Honorable mentions? Anything worth talking about?
Yeah, let's try and go through these quickly. Malignant, which was the other another horror movie that starts out very cliche and then kind of goes off the rails for the last 20 minutes. Really crazy. Just for the way it ends, it made my list.
Yes. Go ahead.
Annette, which we've talked about. In the Heights, which was almost a spiritual successor to West Side Story, which is funny because West Side Story was remade. Starring Anthony Ramos, about the Washington Heights community in New York, and a lot of stories in there by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And then Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley, which got pummeled it came out the same weekend as Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
So that was never going to have a chance. But really good remake of a film from the 40s. A lot of style, great performances.
I've been meaning to go see it. Hopefully I can catch a chance. My honorable mentions this year were Netflix's The Harder They Fall, a really unique Western. It's on Netflix now. Go check it out. Good action. West Side Story, which we already talked about. James Bond's No Time to Die, which is not a perfect film and is not in the top 10, but there was something about it that I think I liked. It's kind of stuck with me since. I wanted to mention here Zack Snyder's Justice League and Pixar's Luca, which is on Disney Plus. Not as good as Encanto, obviously. Encanto's on my list. Luca is not, but movie's got heart. I don't know. It caught me in a special way. It hasn't caught everybody. Most people I know that saw it didn't think it was that special, but I don't know. I liked Luca. Now, uniquely, before we move on to Encanto, my God, we were over on this.
I know.
Was your worst film of the year? What
worst of the year. Well, this is I didn't order these in any particular order.
But they're all bad.
Yeah. Space Jam: A New Legacy. This was a soulless cash grab that tried to sort of recreate. It didn't even try to recreate the magic of the 1997 version, 96 version. And it was mostly just flexing all their IP. There's all these weird references to things like Game of Thrones and The Matrix and this is a kid's film. Why are you bringing up these other properties? Pennywise is in it. And it was just bad. LeBron James is in it. He's fine. He's fine. I mean, he just plays himself. It's just terrible movie.
Yeah, the original Space Jam was definitely like a merchandising cash grab tie-in. That's what it's supposed to be. But there was just enough heart there, and there was just enough emotion and passion that I think fans over time have grown to love it because it's such a unique blend of animation and live action and Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny. And it's weird, but like it has its place in time. But Space Jam 2 forgets that, and it reboots the film and forgets all of that passion, all of that love, and instead just picks up those merchandising reins and runs as far as it can with them. And it's soulless, and there's nothing good about it. It's really a bummer. I think people expected more. I certainly did. It didn't come around.
Another terrible one was M. Night Shyamalan's Old, which was the beach movie where the people on the beach the beach makes them old.
The beach makes you old. That's the whole, yeah.
Took us 45 minutes to realize the beach makes you old. Super. It was kind of boring, uninspired. The last third of it was completely made up, different from the source material. It's got a very underwhelming twist ending. He's got to stop doing these twists because everyone sees them. They're always bad now. They're like a good twist. You got to not see coming, and you know to see it coming in if it's M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, Old this year has served a really unique opportunity for me as a good story metaphor. If you are a writer, if you create entertainment, anything people partake in or engage with or agree with, whatever, don't give away the bit, and then when people get to the proper film, not acknowledge the bit for 45 minutes. We knew in the trailer the beach makes you old. When we watch the movie, it should not take 45 minutes for the characters on screen to find out what the audience already knows, that the beach makes them old. You should get that out of the way fast, because all it does is disconnect your audience from your film. Everybody in my theater was bored. 3 people on the back on their phone because we all knew the beach makes you old. There's no twist. We know what's coming here. So if you're a writer, if you make stuff, if you tell people the beach makes you old, acknowledge that the beach makes you old.
And I've noticed this in other films where the premise, it takes forever to get to the premise.
Yeah. And Old was the first movie I think that I really I noticed it on screen so blatantly. It takes so long for the characters to figure out the beach is making them old. And it's like, dude, everybody in this theater is bored. Like it just takes too long to get to. So yeah, that's Old. And you had one more on here, right?
Yeah. Finally was Those Who Wish Me Dead, which is the Angelina Jolie firefighter drama, which also starred Nicholas Hoult, and was completely John Bernthal was in it as well. Completely unbelievable. Not, they're on a soundstage half the time. Bunch of fake fire. Totally forgettable.
Completely forgettable. When we were putting our top 10 together, I messaged Andy at one point and I said, hey, I was rolling through the movies last year and I got to this one that I cannot remember, and it's Those Who Wish Me Dead. I could not remember what this movie was because it's the most generic, forgettable title I've ever heard in my whole freaking life. And I looked it up, and it's about a woman who fights fires in the forest. Who would have thought that would be a movie called Those Who? It should have been called Firestarter or something, right? Or like, I don't know. They got a name for those people who parachute into wildfires and fight them. Like, go run with that. This movie is forgettable. It is not good. I think Angelina Jolie's okay in it, but she's miscast. Ultimately, I'm glad she had an opportunity to stretch her legs before jumping on the Eternals soundstage and filming that. But this one's just a miss. It's just not good. And I agree. My worst of the year was Space Jam: A New Legacy, and those two others are also not shabby. Or they are shabby, I guess. And that's our top 10. This took so much longer than I thought it was going to take to get to. I wish I hadn't booked another review on top of this one, but we did. So with that, let's talk about Encanto. So Encanto is the story of the Madrigal family, a unique magical family living in the forests of Colombia that all have magical gifts. And they live in this wonderful little town called Encanto. Specifically, the Madrigal family lives in this giant house. They each have a room, and in each room, they have like magical powers and unique gifts that have been given to them by this magic candle that they have at the top of this house where the abuela of the family lives and resides over the candle and watches over her family, and they cook and clean and they all do their thing. The movie specifically is about Julieta, a young girl in the family who uniquely does not have a magical power. She's the only one that doesn't. So she is left out because she is normal, whereas everybody else has super strength or super hearing or can produce weather from nothing. Everybody else is like an X-Men, and she is a nobody. And it's a movie about finding identity. It's a movie about finding purpose when you feel like you don't have one. And it's a Disney animated feature. It's available on Disney Plus now, and I watched it and thought, you know what, this is pretty good. I kind of want to talk about this with Andy. So here we are. Andy, what did you think of Encanto?
Yeah, I thought this was pretty good, really charming. This big family, the animation is really top notch. I think that's what I liked about it the most. You have this house that's alive. You know, the tiles kind of flare up as people walk around, and it reminds me a little bit of Beauty and the Beast, with like everything being alive in that way. And it's got a sweet story at its center. It's a little simplistic. I think it's not as mature as or complex as like a Pixar film would be, but it's fine. It's good for the family, good for the kids. I really enjoyed it overall.
So a quick thing before I jump into it, the lead character's name is not named Julieta. It's Mirabelle, actually. Julieta's one of the sisters.
Mirabelle.
Thank you. I got confused because there's a large cast of characters in Encanto. We have a very large family. Most of these family members have spouses or partners or somebody that they're dating or somebody that they want to date. A lot of people. In fact, this whole little town that's been built around this family, like, you really don't even get to any of that town. Most of it takes place in the house, but there's understandably multiple houses and shops built around this house because there has to be a functioning economy to keep up with how big this family is. And Encanto uniquely never leaves its setting. The entire film takes place either in or around this house. Our characters are not going on some grand adventure. Hercules is not traveling to Olympus to meet his father. Like, this is a Disney movie where our characters don't actually move around a lot. And additionally, there's a lot of characters. Typically, Disney films and children's films, they're pretty simple. This one has a lot. We got 8 songs in Encanto. It is a musical. The songs are very complex. They're written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, Disney songwriting darling, and they are very unique. The songs are dense. There are a lot of words coming at you really fast, often so dense that visually the artist couldn't keep up, so they had to just kind of animate like whimsical situations for our characters to be in on screen, because what's happening in the songs is coming at you so fast. In fact, the songs are so dense, I looked this up. Lin-Manuel has a co-writing credit in the film, which he did not actually help write, but his songs move the plot forward in such an effective way that they felt it was proper to give him a writing credit for the film. Encanto is a different kind of Disney animated film, right? And that's really the reason I wanted to talk about it, because so often these movies are just simple and cut and dry, and they're about a hero's journey, right? And Encanto uniquely does not actually have a physical, really tangible journey. It's Mirabelle's discovery to finding out why she doesn't have a gift. It's her journey to stopping everybody else from losing their gifts when the magic of the family comes under threat of some kind of unknown force.
Right. That's
finding meaning, right?
Right. Well, I was gonna say that's the conflict, is that she kind of envisions like the house cracking, this magical house. There's like this magical candle that where the source of everyone's power, and this candle begins to burn down instead of kind of just being forever, and the house is cracking, and basically everyone's starting to kind of lose their gifts, and then they're not real sure why, and she's kind of on a mission to save the house.
Right. And at times certain characters may even accuse her of, hey, maybe you have something to do with this because you don't have a power, right? Like, and we're turning normal like you. And she ends up kind of put outside of herself and outside of the family in situations that way. It's an emotionally complex film. It's something I'd normally expect from something like Pixar, right? But if my theory that Disney's slowly lifting talent from Pixar and placing it in their own studios correct, that would explain it. Encanto features a really diverse cast, not necessarily in the voice acting booth. It's definitely diverse enough, but literally in presentation. The people of this world are of multiple races and ethnicities all over the film. And it's actually really satisfying. Like, you get lots of different skin colors, you get lots of different skin tones, and the whole pitch is supposed to be, well, this is one family, right? And that's not traditionally something you'd expect from one family, to have all people from all walks of life, from all over the world. But they are in this wonderful little paradise. And I thought that was really unique. Like, that's a step away from the norm. I mean, Tragedy of Macbeth even kind of does that in its own way.
Right.
And that's
Especially
good stuff.
this is yeah, I noticed that too. And what it is, it's still there are a lot of ethnicities even within Spanish culture or Spanish culture and in this case it's Colombian culture. So you have, I mean, basically different gradations of skin color. You have like more Afro-Cuban or darker skin, and like the hair, everyone's hair is a little bit different because of the kind of different ethnicity. So it was yeah, it did a great job of representing a very large variety of ethnicities, just given within Colombia itself.
Yeah, and being this film is strictly in Colombia. You see the words Colombia on the sides of buildings, like it is very explicitly in Colombia. And while we're in kind of a magical oasis of a paradise within Colombia, I like being able to see a children's film a little like Coco that's set in or around South America that shows it in like pleasant light, because I feel like we have a lot of media here that doesn't often do that, and I think it's important for kids to see a world where, hey, there's a lot of love in a lot of places, and like Encanto leans into that. It doesn't shy away from it. It says, hey, yeah, this is a tangible place. This is a real place you can look at on a map where amazing things happen and amazing people live. And like that's tremendous. It would have been so easy to say, well, it's some mystical wherever, right? They're in fantasy land. But no, like Encanto plants its flag and says, no, this is a real place, like where real things are possible. And that's huge. That's huge for kids nowadays.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, the setting is really charming, really fantastical. I didn't like the songs as much as say something like Moana. It does have a couple of good ones. The song about Uncle Bruno is particularly.
We don't talk about Bruno.
I actually heard about that song before I saw it.
I heard that song's trending on like the Billboard Top 100.
Yeah, but so that one's really strong. But like a lot of it is weaker than some of the other stuff. Like I said, because like the entire Moana soundtrack is really great.
So it's funny. I thought about doing it. I honestly thought about doing a TikTok about the Encanto soundtrack, and I realized, like, being a white dude on the internet, I have no place to criticize like a lot of the culture in this film, and I don't mean to, but yeah, the songs in here are uniquely really dense. Lyrically, there's a lot going on, a lot of complex musical stuff. Lin-Manuel Miranda is grabbing the reins with both hands, and they're like, Disney says, we need you to make a musical feature. Goes, okay, I'm gonna get weird with it though. I want to do new stuff that I haven't done before. And they're like, yeah, go ahead. And Encanto is one of those opportunities. A couple of the songs were kind of misses for me for sure. Others like Bruno, like we don't talk about Bruno, or a really pretty song that's entirely in Spanish, like right at the end of the second act. I don't know the name of it, but I heard it's about a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. Like really pretty, really slow, and no subtitles provided, which I think is meaningful. Like I think the strides this movie makes to present diversity and like culture in a positive way are really important. And it does it through good music, good presentation, good setting, great animation, and fun characters. I like it. I like it. It feels different to me. It feels a little bit more special than like I feel like their previous animated features, especially something like Frozen 2 have. But obviously not for everybody. It is a children's film, right? It is a family film. Well, I think a lot of people our age might enjoy it. At the same time, like, you're going to show this to your parents, they're not going to have a good time. They're going to be bored. So it's a different kind of feature. Any other thoughts or recommendations, Andy?
I'm ready.
For fans of Encanto out there, I'm sorry we blasted through this review, but we're way over time. I did not mean this to take as long as it has. So with that, Andy, would you recommend Disney's Encanto?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun. It's a sweet story. It's good for the family, good for the kids. It's not very long. It's only 90 minutes. I've seen the time listed incorrectly everywhere. It is a 90-minute film. Credits roll right at the 90-minute mark. It's sweet. It's got a good soundtrack. Some of the songs aren't as good as some of the other previous Disney animation films, but it's got a couple of good ones. And the animation style is what really stood out to me. It's a really fantastic animation.
Yeah, I was really charmed by Encanto. When I watched it, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a top 10 film of the year for me, and it turned out it was. When I think of the animated features I've seen, the offerings available to kids nowadays, this one stands out. Yeah, it's unique blend of culture, it's music, it's presentation, it's animation, and ultimately like the story of a woman trying to find meaning in a place where she feels like she just has none is really valuable, I think, regardless of what age you are. Check out Encanto on Disney Plus. It's solid, and if you already have a subscription, you can watch it for nothing. So worth your time, in my opinion. And with that, Andy, what are we watching next week?
We are watching the new Scream, the not remake, but kind of sequel. It's a little bit of a reboot, rebootquel, which is a terrible word. Starring Courtney Cox and Nev Campbell, along with a whole new cast of victims just to be cut up by Ghostface. That's out this Friday in theaters only, and then we're also going to be taking a look at Don't Look Up, which I have heard good things. As much as I don't want to watch this film, I have heard positive things about it. That is on Netflix, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, along with other big cast, Meryl Streep, Jonah Hill, directed by Adam McKay of The Big Short fame. It's supposed to be a satire, political satire, something like that. Those are what we're going to be checking out.
I'm interested to see Don't Look Up. I hate to say I'm a little skeptical, but like I don't do great with doomsday satire. I take it a little too seriously, and I probably shouldn't. That's the point. You're supposed to laugh at it, but I'm also uniquely placed against Adam McKay's recent feature. Big Short was okay. I got bored watching Vice, and you can't tell me that like what he's doing in Vice is better than like his work in Step Brothers, like which is, you know, a different kind of film, but ultimately like from the same creator. He's going in a different direction in his career. Adam McKay's doing something different. He split off from Will Ferrell recently and their production company. And while I like what he's doing, I'm a little skeptical about Don't Look Up. So we'll see. Regarding Scream, I have not seen a few of the Scream movies, but I know
I've only seen the first two.
I think I've seen Scream 1 and 2. I don't think I saw Scream 3. Andy, the new Scream, the whole big tagline is "The killer's on this poster." You want to take a stab at it right here on the show? Who do you think it is?
Oh,
I think it's the kid from The Boys, Jack Quaid or whatever.
Jack Quaid, yeah,
that's my name. I know he's featured big on the poster, but I don't know. I think
it's a big cast. I'm trying not to think about it too much. I've kind of fallen out. I haven't kept up with Scream over the last 20 years, essentially. So
yeah, I don't think it's one of the big three: Courtney Cox, Nev Campbell, or what's his name?
Dewey, yeah, of course.
Whatever. Yeah, I don't think it's any of them. I don't know. Yeah, we're not a spoiler cast, so we won't be talking about it on the air or anything when we actually review the show next week. But I just wanted to take a shot in the dark. I'm not afraid to say it. That's my flag in the sand. But having seen nothing about it, I've seen one trailer. That's my guess. It's a kid from The Boys. We'll see. If you enjoyed the show today, if you liked our top 10 honorable mentions, maybe agreed or disagreed with our worst of the year, have thoughts on Tragedy of Macbeth, or maybe want to let us know what you think of Encanto, write into the show at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com, or read correspondence on the air when we've got it, so you can make it on the show easy by just writing us an email. You can also comment on Facebook, where we live stream the show every Tuesday, except for today, because I had something going on last night. Today is Wednesday, and we're recording the show, whatever. You can find us on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube, where we upload all our episodes, and we are on all of the typical podcast outlets: iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartMedia, you name it, we're there. And you can subscribe to us in all of those places. And really, if you want to help the show, you want to do anything for your boys down here at Offscript who are grinding, going to see movies every single week, you can just subscribe to the show on your favorite podcasting platforms. You can get new episodes of Offscript delivered straight to you every single week. Movies are expensive. Podcasts are cheap. Come see Offscript. Come watch Offscript. Come, I don't know, hang out with us and write into the show. I'm losing. We've been doing this too long, Andy. I got to get out of here. From all of us at
Bail
Offscript.
out.
Bail out. Yeah, pull the chute. I'm out. From all of us at Offscript, the home of Bold Cinema. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.